No. 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 Always. But not today. No. No. Heh, elves. Huh, what's this? Necromunda. A HiveWorld. Should be a short read.
One eternity later.
I need to make a video about this. Salutations Rangers, General Bradley 101, back again with some more lore. And in today's video, boys and girls, we're taking a look at the HiveWorld of Necromunda. So, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that wonderful YouTube stuff. Check out the Discord, Patreon, subscribe, become a member if you really like it. Everything else, Discord, and yeah. Look forward to some more awesome stuff, but without any further ado, let's get cracking on with today's video. So, what in the Warhammer blazed hell is Necromunda? Necromunda is a HiveWorld, a very particular HiveWorld and a very important HiveWorld, located in the Segmentum Obscurus of the Imperium of Man. Now, very important to note here, this HiveWorld is hilariously old. It was said to be founded in around the 15th millennium. So about 15,000 give or take, and it's said to be right when the old interstellar human empire started to get going. It would eventually, during the fall of the old interstellar human empire, become what was known as the Principality of Uranus. Uranus Prime being the true name of Necromunda. We'll get into why it was called Necromunda a little later. So it ended up following a very nice little mini empire with a few systems. And the reason they were able to do that was because through some means of ancient technology, they had warp portals, warp bridges rather, artificial constructed warp portals from each planet to planet, which enabled direct communication lines and transfer of goods. So they were able to maintain their cohesion, and thus able to maintain an empire and some semblance of governance. And they grew and grew in power, as during this time with every Tom, Dick and Harry being left out in the dust, they were a sense of stability. And ironically, it was actually by mere happenstance that the Imperium found them out. You see, a certain expeditionary fleet was coming back from the Gehemio persecution during the 30th millennium of the Great Crusade. However, the warp being the warp decided to spit them out near Uranus, instead of where they were supposed to be going. So what ended up happening is that they just chalked up in this random planet. Before they could even decide which way was left and how hot is spicy, they were boarded by genetically augmented enhanced superhumans. Not space marines, but more like cyborgs. And they were all slaughtered completely. Wholesale, the whole fleet. So losing an entire fleet, they were like, huh, this is us. By the way, this fleet did not have any space marines and was heavily damaged, so keep that in mind. So, they decided to send a scouting party of the typical envoy fleet to be like, hey, join or die. The tech nobility, the aristocracy and the ruling dynasty of the Aryan Principality were like, right, no, we refuse, but you can be a tributary of us. I beg your pardon? Now for anyone here who knows Big E, the man is petty as all hell. I mean, just look at the Lost Church, that is a different level of petty. He is also incredibly bloodthirsty. You just told the Emperor of all of mankind to become a tributary. Yikes. Allow me to introduce to you the scientific principle of fuck around and find out. The more you fuck around, the closer you get to finding out. And the Uranus Prime tech nobility just fucked up so hard that they're gonna find out what the hell an Imperial Fist do. Straight up the kisser, baby. I cast Fist! And lo and behold, we get to the Imperial Fist. So Big E contacted Dawn Dad and was like, yo, Fist in time. Dawn was like, okay. And then he assigned to a chapter master by the name of Yashin Yonad, commander of the 39th household, the Imperial Fist version of a chapter. So he gathered his fleet, 20,000 Imperial Fists, millions of troops of the Imperial Army, as well as Mechanicum Tagmata, and decided to conquer the world. And he did. In 2 months, he conquered dozens of systems, like 100 plus planets in 2 months, until the only world of Uranus Prime was left. The tech nobility then surrendered because they realized that they had fucked around, and they were very, very tired of finding out. So what happens next is a matter of some debate. We don't necessarily know. But after the tech nobility had yielded and signed over primacy, something happened. Apparently from the deep void, living lightning and flame-wreathed chrome, a certain type of weird humanoid metal organic Xenos appeared and started kicking everybody straight in the dick. And this was hilariously difficult. This is one of those old Heresy era level aliens that are up there with like the Rangda and the Sloth. Like, do not fuck with them. They will mess you up properly. So then it comes to us now, and then Mr. Yonode is like, right, everything is going to hell in handbasket, we're going to defend the main system. However, he is able to defend the main system, but it is chewing through his men like butter on a hot skillet. He is not doing well, and it looks like it may be the end. Until, however, he destroys the warp gates on each planet. Thus, did the weird Xenos disappear, like they were never even there to begin with. So after the dozens of star systems that were there was only one star system left, and that was Aeneas Prime itself. Thousands of Imperial fists and billions of human lives had died. And even then, most of the planets in that system were utterly fucked except for one, that being Aeneas Prime. And upon looking upon the broken and charred remains of the destroyed world, for it had been ravaged by unnatural fire, everything that was there was turned to ash and dust. No living thing there existed, so much so that it looked like the rocks themselves screamed in pain and agony as they bared the scars of grievous wounds of fire and steel. So did one random remembrancer whose name is lost to history gaze upon the world of Aeneas Prime and decreed that it echoes a world brought to the threshold of death but still survive. And lo behold, was Necromunda, the undead planet, born. Pretty fucked up, huh? Like the Imperium just like brothel stomps and all of a sudden they pull a magic thing out of a hack and it's like, yo, by the way, I'm 100% sure this is a plan by the Aeneas Principality to be like, hey, fuck you. This shit just seems too simple. Like all of a sudden, oh yeah, we blow up the super special technology and then they disappear? Sus. So that is the history of Necromunda. But what I want to get into in the nitty gritty and the witty bitty, the mitty smitty of the itty bitty of the witty titty. What am I saying? I don't know. But some people find it funny. Thank you if you find it funny. I love you very much. Why is Necromunda so special?
You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down.
So, Necromunda, the world history is like pretty simple, pretty standard. But what makes it so unique is that there's a big problem in 40k. You have these massive campaigns and these massive battles and these massive storylines, yet every single faction has at least two storylines that have been started and have never been finished. Or they have been finished, quote unquote, with like vague endings and GW just tossed them to the dirt. There are so many plot lines and stories that are just left out there and that will never be touched upon. We'll never know an ending. Literally, pick anything, and I guarantee you will find some type of story that just ends abruptly for no reason, or is like, to be continued in 7 to 8 business years, Lamau the Imperium. But what's interesting about Necromunda is that it is the exact anathema to this. You see, as a 40k YouTube person, it can be very tiring. We're like, wow, I found this awesome new YouTube thing. Let me read up the lore so I can make a video on it. And it's like, oh, it has one sentence. God damn it. So when I look into Necromunda and I was like, whoa, all of this lore, everything is just from one planet? 40k is a universe, a galaxy of just utter destruction and carnage. Larger than life figures in Herculean titanic battles. Monsters versus monsters. Evil versus evil. The good versus the not really good, because there's not really that many good guys in 40k unless they talk about Caiaphas Cain, which I made a video on. Go and watch it. Wait, cheeky plug. So, when you read Necromunda, it hits you and it's like, whoa, this is what 40k could be. The stories of Necromunda are about simple people in a simple world. You have gangers and ganger hives against the good guys, or the Imperium, quote unquote. Yeah, they're not really good guys, but there's at least one good person in Necromunda. God damn it, man, give me a break, okay? It's 40k. The stakes are simple. Sometimes the criminals are trying to make a drug run. Sometimes the police are trying to bust them. That's the stake. Plain and simple. And because the stakes are so light, you can lose and you can win, chop and change interchangeably. You don't have to worry about making these massive decisions, because if the gangers lose, they just lost a shipment of drugs. If the police lose, Lamau, they just have more drugs on the street. It is what it is. So when you read into Necromunda, you realize that because that the actual stakes of the writing are so small, all the time and effort can then be spent and put into the characters, into the factions, into the lore of the world. Everything in Necromunda is so hilariously detailed, and it all makes sense. And the best thing about it, there are no plot holes. You know exactly who the faction is, you know exactly who the characters are, you know exactly what they want, and what exactly they're doing. You don't have to guess! You don't have to guess! Oh my Lord which art in heaven, you do not have to guess. You don't have to guess about this certain Space Marine chapter, and maybe they're chimeric, maybe they're not, there's no loose ends. I know exactly what the hell it is, when it is, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think. Thank you, Games Workshop, for making my job easier. I love Space Marines, alright? But I'm sick and tired of every time I want to do a short, and I have to spend 15 minutes looking up exactly who the hell this particular people is, when it's quite clearly bloody obvious that they're Ultramarine successors. Yes, that's a meme. Am I upset? A little bit. I find it funny. I don't know what's going on, do you? Maybe. Hi! Thank you for watching. I am an adult who has a job. I'm also very tired. If you know, you know. Right, so my ranting and craziness aside, that's the beauty of Necromunda. You can read a story, get invested in it, and feel accomplished. And it gives a little bit of insight into, in some cases, what the Imperium can be, which is actually pretty nice in some of the upper levels, and what it most usually is, which is terrifying in the deep underhive. Jesus Christ, the Forbidden Cities. So, it's one of those things where it really is whiplash, being a 40k lore guy. And that's why I love this. Because most people don't seem to realize that Necromunda is actually such a gorgeous place to be in. I mean in terms of literature, not in actual planet. The planet itself is fucked beyond all astronomical aspects of life. But the writing opportunities are so much better. And I adore how they flesh everything out. You have, at the tippy top, you have the Palatinate, which is the main noble house, right? Then you have the noble houses under him. You then have the ganger houses, right? But the ganger houses are supposed to allegedly be subservient to the nobles, but they're not. They do whatever the fuck they want, and it often leads into open warfare between the Palatinate and these gangers. But the thing is though, you can't get rid of the noble hives because they have all the money and the power and legitimacy. You can't get rid of the gangers because they make the day-to-day stuff work. So it's this constant pull and back political intrigue. Each gang is so unique and beautiful. The lore, there's merchant guilds, there's the Ash Waste, it makes so much. Take a deep dive into Necromunda lore and you will not be upset. You will enjoy every last bit of it. I promise you. Which is why when I sat down to make this video, I was thinking, how am I going to fit all this into one video? And it hit me. I'm not. I could, but then I wouldn't be able to do a service to a certain unit. Because unlike, say, a Space Marine chapter, where I can say they are Space Marines, they're the Emperor's Angels of Death, the Angels of Death of the Emperor, they are big and strong and have armor, which is all true, but there's not that much to get into them. Some of them are on fire, some of them like blood, some of them are wolves. It is what it is. Whereas with each one of these gangs and hives and guilds, I can go in specific detail. Which is why this video is the specific start of a brand new series, the Necromunda series. And in each one of these videos, we will be having a brand new friend joining us to give their little bit and tip about their favorite little stuff. Yes, I am reaching into the pool of the Warhammer 40k universe to grab the YouTubers to make the content. But I'm not just gonna leave y'all high and dry into the next stuff. No, that's not me. I'm a good man. So, to end off this video, we're gonna talk about just the society and the place as a whole. And then we'll go over each individual house and faction / guild or thing or whatever I want to talk about in its own individual video. So, Necromunda.
Welcome to the jungle!
Necromunda is a piece of shit. But the question is, why does the Imperium still put time and effort into Necromunda? Quite simply put, Chaperunio, it's because it's been alive for about, well, what, 25,000 years, give or take? Which means, while it quite literally has no resources left on it and is a economical and ecological hellscape, literally they can't grow anything, like anything. All food has to be imported. It does have scrap. You see, while the mountains have been drilled out and filled with tunnels, while the oceans have been turned into toxic sludge waste and massive craters, said craters and tunnels are filled with a lot of junk, and that junk happens to be valuable. So Necromunda has quite a simple process. You have scavengers slash miners go scavenging and mining and taking all the nasty stuff. You then bring it into the hive cities, it then gets recycled, and then turned into bullets and food. Necromunda is the definition of a manufactorum. It has nothing to give, but everything to make. Not to mention, it is very, very, very efficient and able to pump out God knows how many things. Not to mention, it also holds very significant importance to the Imperial Fists. As I mentioned before, the 39th chapter, after suffering grievous losses, established a fortress monastery on the planet. They, as well as other Imperial Fists and other Space Marine chapters, take recruits from the gangers and lower nobility, because Necromunda is in a state of constant pseudo-Cold War. So, a constant war will breed good soldiers, and good soldiers make Space Marines. So you combine with the physical resources of guns and material, as well as the manpower they're able to provide, and Necromunda is a very, very important world to the Imperium. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of Necromunda. I mentioned this a little earlier, but you have the upper echelon, that being the Palatinate. The Palatinate is led by Lord Grenadiers Helmar. He is the current leading house of House Helmar, which is the current noble family in charge of Necromunda, sanctioned by Terra. So this is the Imperial House, the main house. So he technically rules over all of the hives. However, his reach only goes so far. There are many other minor noble houses under him, known as the Great Houses. We don't really have much information on them, but mainly because they chop and change every so often. You see, the nobles are all trying to get into the good graces of the imperial household, and they just want to fight amongst themselves and gain power and prestige and glory and honor and all that lovely nonsense. Because of that, who actually runs the city are two things in particular. Number one, as I mentioned before, we have the ganger hives, or the ganger houses, or clan houses. These are the gangs that live in the underhive, and they make everything done. By the way, the underhive is like the majority of the hive, I think like 50 or 60%, give or take. So they're the ones that get most of the shit done. They're also the ones that make all the shit. Each one of them have their own unique spin and take on it. So it's this constant balancing act of you have the noble houses that are fighting amongst themselves but also need to extend their law and order just so enough that these ganger houses don't overstep the mark and become more powerful than the noble houses so that they can actually pose a threat to taking over Necromunda. The second unit is what is known as the Palatine Enforcers, aka the Security Police SWAT paramilitary unit of the Palatinate and thus of Necromunda. Their job is to guard the entranceways from the underhive into the main hive, as well as from other hives to other hives, garrison the ashtrains, police, patrol, and to make sure that everything is alright. Basically, if you live below the hive, you're living a pretty bad life. If you live above the hive, you're living a pretty good life. The only middle ground are these Palatinate Enforcers, as if you join them, you gain access to real food and comfortable quarters, including your family. Necromunda is very much a polarizing fact. You have the ganger hives, which are at their own trying to get power. You have the nobles, who are just trying to get power, but then you also have those caught in between. The foot soldiers of the Palatinate and the foot soldiers of the hive, who are just living their lives. They don't care about power or anything, they just want to carry on and make sure that their family has a good thing to do. In addition to this, we have the merchant guilds. The merchant guilds are the people who get the things to the things. You need water, you need promethium, you need steel, you need iron. These boys are your dudes. And interestingly, they're not ruled by one major house. There is one major house that rules them.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
But they're much more like a guild. Multiple strong houses come together. How is that? Well, they didn't seize it by imperial decree or by power. They just happened to be the people running the place, and they've been running it for generations. So, the imperial governor was like, right, I'm giving you families these charges, you make a guild, you get it done. But then we also have the religious cults. Yes, there are religious cults, including gene stealers, and those who believe in blood, and probably chaos in there too. We'll get into them later, but there's a lot. In addition to this, we have the Ash Wastes. There are monsters who live in the Ash Wastes. These range from quite literally horrific mutated constructs to pseudo-mutants known as the Ash Raiders, who raid the Imperial enclaves as well as the Ash trains that travel to and from each hive. You need to understand, traveling from one hive to another without a train is pretty much impossible. The only life capable of being sustained is in the hive. So you have giant tunnels that lead from hive to hive, or you have giant trains that lead from hive to hive. Your choice. But then you always get the dumb motherfuckers who prefer death and freedom over life and servitude. So we get the shanty towns. These are essentially ramshackle shacks made of wood, plastic, hope, dream, and spit that are outside of the hives. And these are usually very bad. Granted, you're free, so you can live a free life, but you're also in the midst of corrosive acid rain and radioactive ash storms. So it is a trade. Not a trade I would do personally. I'd be a Palatine Enforcer, because bolter and heavy armor. Necromunda has several beautiful things. The main being what is known as the Great Web, that being the power dynamic. You have the merchant guild who are all at the profit. You have the different houses, the noble houses who just want their own power. You then have the ganger houses who want their own power but chaotic. You have the religious cults who want their stuff. Then you get the poor old sods stuck in between, and the Palatine Enforcers trying to keep everything together. In it, you have the perfect synopsis for a political intrigue story. If any of you ever do a TTRPG, you have two choices. 1, be a rogue trader, or 2, be a Necromunda. This place is a goldmine of beautiful stories, and it will let you get your creative juices flowing. Because you got Space Marines, you got Old Age tech, you have New Age tech, you have barbarism, you have all types of nonsense, and good old-fashioned political intrigue. So, ladies and gentlemen, I implore you, look up the Necromunda, do the thing. We will be having several videos with several guests. I'm very happy about that. So go and check them out. And yeah, basically the way that it works, we'll be getting the Palatine Enforcers first. We'll then be getting Van Zar. Then after Van Zar will be House Goliath. And depends on which one of my friends wants to do one. But if you guys have anything, comment down below on which your favorite house, guild, Ashways, Forbidden City, anything. But eventually we will cover every single one in its own video. Nice short bite-sized little munchies to go along with the longer, chunkier videos. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to click all the things down below. Like the video if you like it. If you really liked it, you can even leave me a super thanks. Hand your boy $1 saying thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. Because I love you too, big fella. Click subscribe to be part of the awesome Ranger Trooper Corps, the nicest community in all of 40k, and dare I say in all of YouTube. We are indeed the most polite, and I will stand by that, sir. Do the comment, join the Discord, subscribe to the Patreon, become a member, do all that awesome nonsense, gain access to some super cool stuff. Check out my boys, Dutch the Gaming Storyteller, and Tom, the Imperial Servitor Dominus Prime. Go and sub to him, he's about at 700, get him to 1,000. That is an order, go and sub. If you like me, you'll like him. He makes 30k quality content. I mean 30k as in like the subscriber count. Seriously, his production value is very high, go and check him out. And Dutch, well, he's Dutch, so cheese and weed. Bloody good, lad. Do all the things, I love you, thank you very much for being you, and remember, no matter how hard it is to live in life, no matter how bad it may be, you don't live in Necromunda, and you have me. I will give you quality content, my friend. So, for at least a couple minutes in the day, I can make you smile. And that is all I'm here for. And money. I'm here for money. A lot of money. Give me money, please, but only if you have money for yourself first. You take money first, and I take money second. Okay? Very good? G. Right. Anyway, I have been General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Thank you also very much for watching. Make sure to stay strong out there, boys and gals, and I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss Rangers! It always surprises me how that paramilitary forces like the Arbites and the Palatinate forces have access to bolters, yet in some 40k lore, Guardsmen can be executed for holding a bolt shell. I don't know, GW is weird.